Oh, hey there, besties. Today is my first true crime video that I will be posting, and I just want to say that, I'm going to present this in the most respectful way that I can because it involves, real life people. People from real life, they have families and that kind of thing. So in the comments, please remain respectful and do not say anything racist or inappropriate towards, the victim, the family, anything like this. Just please be mindful. Please be very demure. Anyway, so I won't be eating during this video. I may do a little bit of cooking just because moving around and doing things helps me to think. So, it's an ADHD thing for me. I have made some notes on a piece of paper. Don't make fun of me, besties. You know how I am. I've got to have my notes, and I'm not going to read off my phone because I'm filming with my phone. So I hope you get something from this first true crime episode, and I hope that it opens up some dialogue, and dialogue can often lead to other things like change. So let's launch right into it. I'm going to switch on my grill, fire it up. Today I'm cooking with water and not fat because, besties, I need to lose a little bit of weight. Anyway, while we wait for the grill to heat up, I'm just gonna be looking to and fro. Hope it doesn't annoy anyone. The beautiful young woman that we are talking about today, trigger warning, is, as of a few days ago, no longer. So if you find content triggering, or you have some kind of, emotional imbalance, that you feel like you can't listen to something such as this, then now is your time to click out. We're going to talk about Dr. Mamita Debnath from India. This was a beautiful, intelligent, loving, kind, and sweet young woman in her early 20s. She was a medical doctor who was trained and training in multiple fields and was working at a university hospital. She had traveled at one point from India to America to participate in medical training and programs and awards and things like this. She really was quite the smart egg, and somebody who really wanted to help her community in India. A few days back, she was working at the university hospital, performing a 72-hour plus shift, working as a doctor. Apparently there are shortages of doctors, and these hours, or more than these hours, is not only common, but it's expected. And doctors over there in India work tirelessly, men and women, to assist their community, particularly people who don't necessarily have the money to get proper medical care. And this is something that Dr. Moumita was doing for her job and for her studies. So she was a very generous person. We've got some onions, we've got some broccoli. These are raw. Doing it the low-fat way, putting some water on the grill. So we don't want them all mushy, but we do want them, you know, like sauteed style. Lola, you want a piece of peri-peri chicken? Okay, go get it. She's a sweetie pie. Oh my God, are you stuck? Are you okay, baby? Oh my God. So yeah, you can imagine she was absolutely flippin' exhausted, and she was working and working and working and working. And so the reports say that she finished that 72-hour shift. Well, technically she didn't finish it, but she felt that she needed a break. She wasn't going to go home because then she was possibly going to continue working without any real rest other than like a nap. So when doctors work very, very long shifts, it's quite normal for them to sleep in a designated sleeping area of the hospital. In any country, this happens. This is quite normal. So when she went to take that nap from pure exhaustion and overworking, she went to an area where it was allocated for doctors to sleep, and it was supposed to be safe. So it was in an office room where they apparently had, you know, like a mattress or something. So you can go sleep there, you can rest, and then you can get back on shift. And that's how the university hospital had it set up. Don't get stuck, Lola. Lola, don't get stuck. No, no, no. Out here, please. Isn't she so gorgeous? Isn't she so demure? Here's a bit of chicken. Okay, all gone now. Anyway, so getting back to this wonderful person, Dr. Moumita. She was waiting for her well-deserved rest to literally then just get back into work. She hadn't been home for days. She hadn't had proper rest. She was just like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a nap. And then I'm going to get back to work again because I want to participate. I want to help people, you know, this kind of thing. There's a shortage and there's people going without medical care. So she was a very generous person. She was a very generous person. Let me tell you this. Every single report about this young girl, because I believe she was about 23 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I found in the research that I did. So any errors in this report are my own, and I've done the best research that I can based on what's out there currently. And of course, this is an ongoing situation and case, so you know, the information is changing literally every few hours. So she went to the office to have a little nap, and she was discovered by the university staff, hospital staff, and the police. Apparently around 5 hours later, and she was, how do I say this carefully, she did not exist anymore. She had passed. The police had received a phone call from her, allegedly. She'd called them for help. Her family or her mother had received a phone call right before she extinguished. And the parents have been interviewed, and the trauma, the absolute trauma that they have gone through in that family because of what has happened it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. I'd like to take this moment to just highlight that in India, you correct me if I'm wrong, there is a caste system whereby people are categorized by family groupings, wealth, tribes, this kind of thing. And this is common in a lot of places. However, in this particular place, India, it basically affects every facet of your life. Like, you could be seen as a non-person, or you could be seen as somebody that's important based on your caste. It also dictates who you can marry, this kind of thing. The reason why I mention this is because even within the caste system, I would say there is a subcaste. And not always, but very, very often, unfortunately, in this day and age, women and girls are pretty much at the bottom of that caste system. Even if they're from a rich family and they're at the top of the caste system, if you're a female, you're not really at the top of the caste. And so I just wanted to point that out because, as in many cultures and countries, sometimes, quite often, women in places like India are considered to be on a sliding scale of not human, not people, not a person, trash, garbage, to maybe she's kind of important because she's the daughter of somebody from that family that's, in an upper caste. So there's a big sliding scale of how women are viewed and how women are treated. And probably the first word that comes to mind when I think about this is that, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong, just from the evidence that I've seen, and again, this is not just Indian people, this is across the world in many cultures and places, women and girls are often seen as being disposable. And this is why I'm doing this video, because I don't believe that women and girls are disposable. I don't believe that women and girls are worth less than boys or men. And when I heard about this story, I don't know what to say. I don't know how a person can, or people can, do this to another person. Like, if I thought of my worst enemy, the person that's done the most heinous, horrific things to me in my life, and a couple of people have done some pretty unforgivable things, and I don't mean just pissing me off, I mean like things that involve torture, things that people could go to jail for a very long time. I cannot imagine wishing this on those people or anybody ever that I've ever met in my whole life. Like, I do not fathom how people could do what they did to this young woman. Take a break for a minute, it's a bit emotional. Here is the peri peri chicken. It is pre-cooked. And comes in packs for pizzas and stir fries, that kind of thing. You can use it for anything. So right here, I'm actually going to use this mix for tacos, surprisingly, which a lot of people might go, huh? There's broccoli in there. Yeah, try it. Try it before you, don't knock it till you try it. It's going to be good. I'm also going to be putting these into it and shoving them in taco shells. So I'm actually feeling sick trying to tell the story. Like, it's that intense. I'm going to be careful how I say it, I guess. I just need a minute. I guess if it's intense for me to talk about, it's intense for you to hear. So I'm just gonna space it out a little bit. And again, you don't have to stick around if you feel like this video is not for you. This is, you know, pretty intense situation that unfolded. Oh, look at this. A bit Francer. So we'll get this chaise. It says, selected by Will Stud. Brillat Savarin Affine. Well, is that French and my pronunciation is very bad? Indication géographique protégé. Ooh. Okay. So it's cheese. Let's just cut to the chase right there. I'm going to open it. I'm going to take little stickies off. And it's got a little layer of wax on the top. But wow, it's nice and melty. Beautiful. We're just going to put it in the vegetables and the meat to melt down. And that will make the tacos nice and cheesy. Nice and cheesy. Lola, would you like a bit of cheese? Come around here, baby. I'm just going to throw it on the floor. There you go. She doesn't mind. Whew. So, yeah, this is really intense to talk about. I apologize if I'm dragging it out, but... So, other interesting facts that I found, and I call them facts because this is not evidence that's solidly backed up, and again, like I said before, it's changing. So basically she had been gang raped and ended, and when the police came, allegedly they tried to cover it up. Allegedly. They spoke with university hospital staff who cooperated with them to also allegedly cover it up. A group of people went in and smashed all the windows of the room, put holes in the walls, tore down cables, and said that the original damage had been done because of renovations to the building, and that she hadn't been ended by a group of men, that she had ended herself. So they formulated this false narrative about this poor young woman and tried to cover up the crime, allegedly. Of course, doctors who knew Dr. Mamita that worked in the university hospital, her colleagues and their friends and people from the faculty, arranged a protest because they saw the room after they took her body away. They saw the room and they saw what was there, and they said there is no way that she ended herself. She was clearly gang raped and ended quite violently. Anyone could see this from the evidence left in the room. And so they arranged a peaceful protest to get the attention of the government so that there could be a proper investigation. The government and the police then conspired, allegedly, to send a mob of 7,000 men to go to the hospital, to smash everything up, and to bash up the protesters, allegedly. To scare people, to make it go away, so that justice could not be served for Dr. Moumita. When the 7,000 people came through and destroyed and contaminated the crime scene and gang bashed men and women doctors and nurses who were peacefully protesting, not only did they contaminate the crime scene, but they allegedly threatened, coerced, and violently attacked the peaceful protesters. Excuse me. Why were the peaceful protesters so sure that she had not injured herself and that there was a cover-up by the police, the university admin, under the pressure of the police and the government? Why were they so sure? Again, trigger warning. The beautiful, sweet, intelligent, giving Dr. Mamita was found with the following horrendous injuries. Excuse me. Of course, she was found with evidence inside her body of sexual contact of semen. They have since suggested that a minimum of 19 men, possibly 30 men or more, they said is more realistic, had attacked her. This is based on the grape evidence, okay, of the seminal fluid and this type of thing. As for major injuries, I won't list minor injuries or major injuries that I don't know of. This is what has been said, and this is what has come out so far. But there are more. But to give it a basic summary, what this woman's body had direct evidence of. Let's turn this off for a second. She had injuries to her genitals, seminal fluid from a large group of men inside her body in multiple cavities, suggesting grape through coitus and sodomization. She had been manually strangled to the point where her neck had been crushed and the cartilage had popped out of her throat. She had a minimum of 130 deep bite marks over her naked body. At the end of her ordeal, she had been manually strangulated and physically crushed to the point that her lungs had been crushed and collapsed. She had been crushed so forcefully that the glasses she was wearing had shattered into her open eyes, and shards of glass were pushed deeply into her eyeballs and parts of her face, neck, and body. Her eyes were bleeding profusely. She was bleeding from her mouth. She was bleeding from other cavities such as her nose, her genitals. And her pelvis was broken. Not only was her pelvis broken, her pelvis was shattered. Can you imagine the force it would take to shatter somebody's pelvis? People are in car accidents, hit by trucks, and often they don't have a shattered bone in their body. Her pelvis was so shattered that it was literally snapped in half and in pieces. Her pelvis was so shattered and the attack was so vicious that after her pelvis had been shattered, she was continuously graped after the effect, to the point where when they found her body, her legs were facing the opposite direction that they were supposed to face. Her pelvis was so shattered that instead of her legs being like this, they were literally, her legs were on back to front. They literally shattered her pelvis, dislocated her legs, and turned them back to front while graping her. This group of possibly 30 or more men. When they looked at the room after they removed her body, there were piles of her hair in blood that had been torn from her scalp on the floor next to the mattress. Piles of her hair. The mattress and the floor were covered in blood. There was blood on the floor, the mattress, the wall, equipment in the room, the furniture. When they found some of the suspects, when they decided to do a real investigation, things started to take a very obvious turn as to why they allegedly tried to cover up this story. The person that they call the ringleader and a large group within the group of friends, some are allegedly police officers and some are allegedly family members of police officers. And so we ask the question, why was it covered up? Why do you think? My big question that I think of when I think of the lovely Dr. Mamita is, what actually constitutes justice? In a situation like this, what is justice? If any of the men are found guilty, and it's not difficult to prove who actually did these things, because the grape evidence included seminal fluid from a large group of men. Clearly, this was not a voluntary sexual activity. Clearly, this was a gang rape and, snuffing out of a young woman. Clearly. Nobody could think otherwise based on the evidence. The evidence is straight. So I'm not saying these men are guilty or whatever, because sometimes people can be, lynched for the crimes of other people, particularly if the people that did the crimes are in positions of power. So I'm not saying that these alleged suspects are guilty or that they're the ones that did it. If somebody sure as heck did it, a large group of men did it. So if and when they find who actually did it and they prove it, what actually constitutes justice in this situation? I'm asking you, the audience, because this is such a horrific crime. And allegedly, apparently, these types of crimes not only happen all over the world, but this type of crime actually happens very often in India, but generally it's not heard of because it happens mainly to women from lower caste systems. And so because of that, what investigation? But here we have a doctor, and I presume she's from a higher caste family than a lot of other women, primarily because, she's educated and she's, not to sound bad here, but she's not, somebody's wife on a farm, milling some rice to eat every day. I mean, she's a working woman. She's educated. Surely she must be from a higher caste system. And so this is why we are hearing about it. And this is why people are protesting about it. And I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to be, have justice in her name. Of course she does. Absolutely. Absolutely. But my point here is, what about all the other women that we don't hear about? Because they're just not that important according to the caste system. What about those women? What actually constitutes justice? What is justice in this situation? I won't get into any other details about the absolute horror that this situation is. One, because I literally feel sick from talking about it. It is one of the saddest things that I've heard of in my entire life. And I've heard some pretty sad shit, people. Literally, I'm trying not to cry. Why am I talking about it? It's probably a good question. I heard about it and I thought, oh God, I can't talk about this. This is too intense. This is too much for me. But then I saw a couple of women online on TikTok, and they looked emotionally disturbed to talk about it too. But you know what? They spoke out. But I thought, how is me speaking out going to do anything? But then several of the women I watched, they said, and their families were from India, and they had immigrated to Western countries, such as the UK, and they said they are British, for example, citizens, but they originally were born in India, and their families are still over there, living in that environment. Women in their families, girls, are living over there in that situation. And these women, who were now British but also Indian, said, it doesn't matter who you are, man, woman, whatever culture, speak out about Dr. Moumita, because when you speak out, you raise awareness for issues, and that can create social change. Even if you can't do anything, let's just say you can't go to a protest, it's not an issue in your country, people aren't even talking about it. Do you know the more awareness something like this gets, the more likely something will be, flipped myself in the flipping eye, burnt my arm, just ignore me, I'm crazy. So the more we speak out, the more you make it public, the more chance something will eventually be done about the issue as a whole. The whole issue, for all the women, for all the girls, for all the people in India, for all the people in other places that it happens, in other countries. This is a global issue. There is a war against women and girls, and the only way to fight it is to speak about it, because when you speak about it, then people know about it. When people know about it, people talk about it. When people talk about it, more people know about it, and then something can be done. Do I know what can be done? No. But these Indian women, they were like, please make videos just like we have. Share this information. Share this video. Talk about it. Talk. And let me tell you, women can talk. Women can talk. Yes, we can. We talk and talk and talk. And in this kind of situation, that is an advantage. These are going to go on the actual tacos when I serve them, by the way. I'm not going to put them on here yet. Let me just give you a close-up. It's got the cheesy carbonara on it. So it's like cheesy broccoli, bit of spice, peri-peri chicken, some beautiful onion. So whether you share my video or not, whether you comment, have a think about if you've made it this far into the video, because this video is pretty frightening, because this is real. This is not a movie. This is not a film. This is not made up story. This happened literally in the last few days. Whether you're a feminist, a woman, or a man, because not all men, please speak about it, talk about it, be vocal about it, say her name. And hopefully small acts like that can make a big social change. Say her name, Dr. Mamita Debnath. Bye, besties.